Hello, everyone. This is another episode of From Script to Life, and today our guest is an actress, model, influencer, and Lex Luthor employee, Tatiana Piper. I'm glad to see you here, Tatiana.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. Lex Luthor employee, that's so funny. That's actually what I am playing in Superman, yeah.
Yes, and we'll talk about this big project a little later. But before we start, could you briefly tell us about your background?
Sure. So originally I'm Russian. I came from Russia tw in 2012, so it's almost 13, not almost actually 13 years ago. And I went to college here, and I was always very artistic, always wanted to act, always wanted to be in some sort of artsy, um, like basically get some sort of artsy degree. But my family, they are a very conservative Russian family, so they told me that I have to choose something that I can rely on in the future. So I chose equally artistic, but not as unstable, I guess, degree. And I got a degree in interior design and architecture. Loved that, but didn't love that enough. Or maybe I would better say I just had a different calling and I was always feeling like I'm missing out on something. So, and before pandemic started, I started taking acting classes back in like 2018, I believe. And I just fell in love with acting and I started pursuing it as a basically like a hobby, I would say. But then I was like, I guess I have to go full in. Otherwise, it's just, I'm always going to be sort of dabbing my feet and not feel, the actual like I'm not gonna immerse myself, not gonna come out of my comfort zone, and I don't think it's gonna work out really. So that's what I did. I quit my full-time job and started to pursuing acting. Um, it's of course it's a way more complicated than I'm telling you. It's just like I'm briefly on the surface explaining what I was doing, and yeah, and that's I'm here today, and I've been acting ever since that time during pandemic, and no.
Mm, It sounds like a very solid plan, have a different education in case if your dream plan wouldn't work, but I'm glad it worked for you. It worked out. And um, so you mentioned you've been growing up between two cultures, like Russian and American. How has that shaped your perspective as an actress? Has it helped find your roles, or does it sometimes maybe work against you?
I would say when it comes to my upbringing, I'm very resilient and I don't just give up. So, like in Russia, you don't have a basically when you participate in something in America, you get a trophy. In Russia, we don't have that. We just if you either win or you lose. There is no like in between sort of thing. So in that kind of standpoint, I never give up. If I like something, if I want something, I just don't give up. It doesn't matter. Like I can fall so many times. It has to work. Otherwise, like what's the point? So that's probably one of the things that I admire about my upbringing. When it comes to acting in US, definitely I have an accent. So that for the longest time has been something that I would say to myself, oh my God, I cannot play certain roles because of my accent. But honestly, there's always way around anything. Like when I leaned into acceptance that I have an accent, I started to get roles and I started to get roles fast with that specific accent, not even Russian, just from the region. A lot of people don't even they cannot differentiate between countries, and sometimes I'm not calling anybody arrogant, but like sometimes you didn't need this taste of that specific region. So I can play so many people, so many, I would say, nationalities if I lean into my native language, native accent. But at the same time, when I need to do neutral American, I would basically train with my dialect coach. And there is also a way around that. And I would say there's a beauty of both worlds. And being in America for a longest time, like for pretty much half of my life at this point, just seeing how people they support you when you pursue stuff like this. I wouldn't also summarize that everybody will blindly support you, but there's way more support here when it comes to stuff like this. In Russia, there's a tendency of supporting you only when you make it. And throughout your journey, there's going to be a lot of either judgment or some sort of not acceptance in a way. So it's of course I had to work on that as well as a person because I grew up in that culture of you have to have a stable income, a job, anything that is volatile or not stable will send you down, like, and you're not gonna live a good life essentially. So yeah, I had to work on myself a lot to break through those beliefs. And yeah, I hope I'm answering the question correctly. I mean,
You do.
you understand what I'm saying, I guess.
I do. I do. Yeah. When you mentioned like languages, I think you with the accent like we have. It's usually all the Eastern Europeans
Yeah,
languages kind of sound the same. The sounds we make, yeah. So you can there's a various range of roles you can play with this accent. And when you say about like Russians, it's either result or just give up. Just some,
yeah,
yeah. You can't struggle. You have to either get successful, become successful, or not. That's it. Like
exactly, exactly.
there's no in between. Um,
Yeah.
you you mentioned you are located in Atlanta, correct? So
Yes, I'm
it's not
based in
L. Yeah. So my question is about like Atlantis market because it's much smaller compared to LA or New York. So what were some early challenges you faced breaking into the industry there? Do you think it's easier to start in a smaller city and then move or?
Actually, Atlantis market, you'd be surprised. It's can be a competitor right now to LA and anywhere else in the US because we had for the longest time we had a really good tax break for for basically productions. A lot of productions are coming here to film. And until recently, we started to have like the whole US is kind of with those tariffs. We kind of like shook in a bit. A lot of productions actually living abroad now. It's cheaper to shoot it in Belgium than back home. But I would say LA market is what's good about it is a lot of lead roles and basically main roles are still cast in LA, but there is such a huge amount of roles cast in Atlanta because a lot of productions are looking for local hire for and the purpose for that is to get that tax break. So they need to hire Atlanta locals, like the residents, to get that perk. And it's cheaper. In general, it all comes back to money. It's cheaper to have somebody local rather than flying in somebody. Although saying that there are a couple of markets like Florida, for example, they fly people in easily just because they know their pool of actors not as diverse as like somewhere Atlanta or LA. And for especially during pandemic, I would say the superiority of Atlanta actors became way more visible because are literally trained to self-tape. We like this is the base of our knowledge. If you go to any acting class, of course learn how to act, but you learn how to self-tape. A lot of actors back in LA, they would still go in a room, meaning they would go to see casting directors in person, and audition that way, which is a great thing. But when pandemic happened and everything went virtual, a lot of actors from LA had to gather knowledge very quick, how to tape at home, where to find a reader, what background to use, all those things. So whether in Atlanta, as I mentioned, we always we like top notch. Our everybody in Atlanta, every actor has their little mini studio at home, and so that's basically the beauty of it, I guess. When thanks pandemic, not in the way that how damaging that was, but how people were adapting super fast to this industry. So in a way, Atlanta actors are very like good in competition with market in LA, because at this point anybody can say like I'm a local hire to anything and they will submit audition based in Atlanta and they can get cast in LA, but they will have to basically fly themselves out there and stuff like that. So yeah, and when I was starting out here, I would say my accent actually helped me in the way that there are not a lot of Russian speakers in Atlanta who are actors as well. So every time I get an audition, I know there are not going to be so like thousands of girls looking like me who are proficient in Russian language or Slavic accent.
Hmm.
So that's definitely helped a lot. And LA is a little bit different. There are way more Russians, I would say. So yeah, it's a different world, and it's hard to compare them honestly, because I never really worked as a local hire in LA, so I'm not gonna talk about their market. But I think that Atlanta market is a great competitor to anything else that's going on in US.
Thank you. So yes, when you said about moving industry to another states, I know there are many states uh, have this program like tax reductions.
Mhm.
We here in Missouri also have one, and it's pretty high, about 25%. But there are some things they need to match.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that like most of the Metropolis scenes in Superman James Gunn's, they also were shot in Cleveland, Ohio, right?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you were based in Atlanta. How did the relocation process work for you? What kind of support did the production provide for you to move to Cleveland, Ohio?
So I actually didn't shoot in Cleveland. They're all LexCorp scenes were shot pretty much in Atlanta.
Mm,
Yeah, so there are a couple of things were shot in Cleveland. I'm not honestly sure what exactly was shot, because when you come on set, you don't have access to the full script and full locations. They're changing, they're ever changing. But everything that comes to Lex Luthor and where we worked as employees, we were shooting in Atlanta in Three Live Studios.
that's amazing. I mean, the work
Mhm.
coming to your town, you don't have to go anywhere. But
Yeah.
that's great. I mean,
That's what I'm
really.
saying. Like it's and James Gunn actually moved to Atlanta as well. He
Hmm.
has a residence here because he wants to bring more projects here. That's what I'm saying. They have beautiful, gorgeous, big, humongous studios where a lot of projects are shot. Whether it's like Netflix or HBO or anything you mentioned, it's there's a space for it in Atlanta.
That's good to know. I know where I moved to after graduation now. Thank you. Yes, again, congratulations on joining the biggest like blockbuster of the summer. It's the biggest one, James Gunn's Superman. What was it like when you found out you booked a role in Superman?
Thank you for asking that question, because sometimes I forget to reflect. Um, I was a little bit speechless. I couldn't really believe it. It didn't settle until later, I would say. And also there was a code name for that project. So there was like I didn't really got that it's a Superman. There was a code word for it, and I booked it, and the production at Warner Brothers, and everybody knew it's a superhero movie, and we kind of knew what it is, but it wasn't like we weren't sure, like my agents and stuff. But then when I actually understood what it is, I think I was shocked. I was shocked. I was only after filming I was reflecting, and I felt so like grateful and blessed, but I was shocked.
Yeah, I think it's important just that you like reflecting about this again and just
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely.
it's not about like result only, it's about the path too. Sometimes we do
Absolutely.
forget about it.
Yeah, because we as an actors, we're supposed to we need to, like, it's so crucial for actor to let go of the hope that you book kind of thing. So you just have to understand this, your job is to audition and do the best, like make this process so, I don't know, enjoyable, love the process. Because if you're just gonna hope that I'm gonna book that one, oh, they didn't call, oh my God, what's up with that project? I also auditioned for that. You're gonna not continue with that industry because it's a lot of people on my Instagram comment like, how do I get in this production? And I'm like, I can't even answer this question because it's not about getting into that production. It's
Mhm.
about learning how this industry operates in general, the rejections, being okay with rejections. And because there's nobody gonna come to you in a coffee shop and tell you, you should be in Superman. Let's go get you signed. Here's your contract. That's one in a million situations. So yeah.
True. So since you how do you handle rejections or moments of self-doubt in this business?
Rejections, I would say I sometimes I don't even know about them because I just move on. Like I forget about that I auditioned for something. More so, I would say when I have callbacks and I don't hear up because when you get a callback, it means that you were selected not just out of like like 100, like 10,000 people who got an audition. Then out of those 1,000 people who got an audition, you got a callback. So you have maybe, I don't know, different productions have different things, but like let's say 100 people, like 50 people in your callback for like a bigger project, for like commercials, like maybe 20, 15, and you know that your pool is way smaller, and then you get in your head because especially if you're in the waiting room like on Zoom call and you see other actors and you're like, okay, just stop evaluating you because you already enough, you got it, and then you open your eyes and you see this person has a beautiful hair, this person is just so ready to go, and you're just like, okay. And if you don't get that one, which happens quite often as well, then you get in your head a little bit. So I would say what I do is I usually like in my head for like maybe half of a day. I try to do EFT, which is the emotional tapping technique. It's kind of like rewires my brain to just release all the things, all the worries, because honestly, if I would be younger, I mean, if I would have my younger self coming to me and give me some advice, I would say to her like stop worrying so much because literally everything that you worry about, only like 1% of it might happen actually, but 99% is your imagination, and you are, only making your life harder. So yeah, I just kind of like try to release that energy and kind of like calm down, bring myself to my sentence and senses and find my inner balance. Yeah, I think mental training is, I think, one of the biggest and useful tool for me to not get in my head.
Thank you for this wonderful
Of
advice.
course.
Going back to Superman, I would like to talk a little more about how's it working under James Gunn's direction. Did anything about his process surprise you?
I would say he is such a down-to-earth guy, very easy to work with. He'll become your friend on set. There is no tendency, there is no like a energy of like superiority and nobody kind of thing. Like he is extremely talented, and he uses a lot of improv techniques, which was really cool to observe. So he would sometimes over in speakerphone, he would say, "Okay, let's try this line. Now think about this," or "Now let's turn up this song." And he would just always come up with something new to break down the pattern of, established um, scene. So that was really nice to see. And yeah, he just became everybody's friend, and he always wore the coolest t-shirts. So yeah, it was really cool. It was experience of a lifetime for sure.
Yes, about this. Speaking of these t-shirts, in one of your previous podcast interviews, you mentioned like he was showing up on set in these t-shirts with motivational phrases.
Yeah,
Do
yeah.
you remember the funniest one or that one stood out to you the most?
Oh, I'm not gonna lie, I don't. But they're always kind of fun. It's something. I think one of those like a something like a you reading you handsome, that's you, or something like that, right? Like if you read the t-shirt, it's like it's about you. So it's something that you look at and you smile,
Uh,
So I think it's a great, like what a great idea to make people
right.
smile when you wear something.
I agree. Yeah, it's a wonderful idea to trap your
Hmm.
crew and actors. It just
For sure.
yeah. Yeah, I was interested. Like, you already mentioned that your scenes were shot in Atlanta, but can you tell us through your daily routine during Superman's production? What time did you usually start? How long were the shoots?
So we would start in the morning, early mornings, based on, like union contracts, usually can go, I think it's what, 8 hours a day or 10 hours a day. I don't honestly remember. Don't quote me on that. Um, but it would start pretty early. So on the very first day, of course, you just come extra early because you have to get familiar with your makeup team, your hair team, and they have to figure out what to do and how to do it. And eventually, and days go on, like the next day, you already know you want for breakfast, and kind of it's kind of becomes like a very well-oiled system, I guess.
Mm,
So sometimes I would come in even the first day would be like a 15, 20 minutes before my call time, just so like I'm good to go. And um, 2 weeks later, I would be showing up right on time, which is still great. And because I already know where to go, what to do, and how long my hair will take, how long my, makeup will take. And then we go to set and we spend the like all these hours on set. We usually don't go back on the base camp. We would be there until lunch. Then you have your lunch, then you go back on set, and then you go home. That's pretty much it. But you majority of the time you're on set. So I
mhm,
love that production because we never, like a lot of times in acting industry, you have to be in your trailer and like bring a good book to read and like whatever you want to do, just you can accomplish so much while waiting for your turn to come. But in this production, we were always on set, and that was the beauty of it because we all would want to be there. Like nobody would want to sit in their trailer waiting, and we constantly would work.
thank you. Yeah, it's I would say you had the best office job with the biggest windows, Just
Exactly. Yeah. And it's the beautiful office. Who would pass on to that view for
right.
sure?
Yeah. Um, in terms of your character, how much of the direction did you had? Did you have like background for your character, the one you could read in script or
Well, yeah, I had a basically general understanding of what my character is, who my character is. And of course I read the script. So I actors we are hired not only because of our acting, but also hired because, we have the skill of understanding and breaking down the script. Um, Director cannot just come to every single person and be like, let me explain about your character. If you have questions, you're always welcome to ask them. But for yourself, you already got this role, so they already know that you can deliver. they know they can like redirect you if they need to. But I think even though without knowing exactly what I'm auditioning for, I already made a choice who my character is and what who am I working for in a way. And when I put the dots together and connected them,
Hmm.
I it was kind of like logically I just got it, what I'm doing, what I'm here to do, who am I as a character. And of course, like sometimes I would ask James, like, what do you want me to like do here? Like if I'm giving a look to Lex, like what is it? Like do I ever doubt him? Like do I ever
Hmm.
sense that you're like you're a bad guy? And James would always give me advice and yeah, now you see it on screen.
Yeah, yeah, on the screen it looks like you just blindly believe in leadership of Lex Luthor.
Adored. Hmm.
Mm. Well, now that a sequel has been officially confirmed, you heard about it.
Of
Uh,
course. Yeah.
yeah, do you think you'll be returning to play your role in the next film, or?
I'm not sure. This is a great question, and this kind of stuff. They nobody know about it, honestly. Nobody knows. I don't think even James knows. I think James is still working on yeah, he I don't think he finished completely the script. So it's all gonna be up to the storyline for sure and up to the
Mhm.
casting, all that stuff.
Right, yeah, it sounds
Mhm.
like it's still an early stage.
For sure.
Um, so how has this role changed things for you? Have you started getting more offers? Maybe there are some upcoming projects you want to share?
Well, it's definitely changed a lot of things for me as a actor, as a person, honestly, as well. I got so much more confident in what I'm doing, and it was just some sort of validation, confirmation that I chose the right way, chose the right path for myself. And in general, I got so many responses from actors who are out there that they don't know where to start, don't know what to do, and now I have the confidence to share my advice and share my experience. And I actually enjoy doing that. I know that there's, like after Superman, I've shot already a couple of projects. They're still in production, so I'm not sure. I'm not supposed to talk about them yet.
Hmm.
Cannot promote yet. But um, yeah, definitely. I feel like the feeling of working with such a great people and such a experienced actor gave me so much more confidence, working opposed A-listers and not feeling like, I don't belong there because now I'm just, I'm here to play. I'm here to do the work that I love. And I guess that's one of the biggest outtakes from that project.
Right, the dream job. That's
Mhm.
the best thing.
Thank you.
Um, so yes, in your social networks, you tell about like acting. You give advices. What would be your advice to the aspiring actors who just started out?
So there are, I mean, there's so many to give. I would say just learn about industry, not the glamorous part, but the grind, the challenge. Start acting in your, I don't know, local theater, in acting, go to acting class, test the waters because what you see on screen, it's not always what goes behind the closed doors. Acting is way more than just red carpets and flashlights and big projects and interviews. It's a lot of unnoticed work, a lot of rejections. And I would say if you truly, truly know this is for you, go for it. Don't have a second thought. Just go for it. You will not, I'm telling you, like, a lot of actors would be like, "Oh, I don't know where to start, and what if I fail? Whatever." You're not gonna fail. Honestly, if you stick with it, you're not gonna fail. You will book eventually. You like approach the audition, any audition with the thought that I will book eventually. Doesn't I don't know when, I don't know what time of the day, season, year, but I will book. And because there's no other way. If you stick with it long enough, you will book. You will start booking. And if you are there for, I only want to be in Superman, I only want to be in like Netflix shows, then this is not for you. This is not want to be an actor. This is more so like feeling the fame, feeling the highs of the industry, which only 10% of work.
Right, that's wonderful advice. Thank you.
Thanks.
Um, I feel like this is it, and I think our time is
Yes,
going to,
thank you so much
yeah,
sorry for being a
yeah,
little late, but thank you so much for
it's
being
okay.
so
Yeah,
concise.
no
Really
worries. Yeah,
appreciate it.
yeah. Do you have any social media you'd like to share so people can follow your work?
Sure. So my social media, my Instagram and my TikTok. Instagram is primarily the platform I use. It's Tatiana.Piper. Same as for TikTok, but without dot in the middle. And also, for all the actors out there, I'm working on something extremely special that unfortunately I cannot answer every single person. I received so many questions, so many comments and messages, and I wish I can answer everybody, but I have a family, I have friends, and I can't just sit on my phone all day. So I came up with this idea of sharing my knowledge in a concise, very effective way. And I'm coming out with something very special very soon, actually next week. So if anybody is interested, just go follow my page and you'll see what it is. This is going to be a package that includes literally my brain in, yeah, in that package, in my acting experience, all in one link, if you would.
Well, that's great. I think it's a wonderful idea to share, like to create the package so I can share
For
with your
sure, for
experience.
sure. Yeah. So
Yeah.
for everybody who has questions out there.
All right. Well, thank you. This is it for today.
Well, thank you so much for having me, and I hope you guys learned something and through you. And thank you for having this educational, informative podcast. Yes, thank you.
Thank you being with us today.
Mhm.
Now, have a wonderful day, Tatiana.
You too. Thank you so much.